Hey guys, we're going to finish up our last lesson in this unit. Just kind of going through a little bit of a review of where we've come from start to finish in terms of objectives. So right here in the yellow, I can understand lifestyle diseases and controllable versus uncontrollable risk factors. We talked about things that are choices versus things that are out of our control, like genetics. It's also understand the history of where our country was 100 years ago and what's happened in advancements in medicine, which is great, but then also how lifestyles have changed really in many ways for the negative. And then above that in green, I'm talking about specifically the age ranges of all human beings, and then even more specifically in your age range of 15 to 24 in regards to motor vehicle accidents and how that's affecting you. And then in addition to that, how the six components of health all kind of relate to each other, how they impact the lifestyle choices that we make, and that can either be negatively or positively. And then above that, last class we talked about how resources in society, we can use those to help make positive impacts on our own lives and on the impact of others. And then in today's unit, we're going to do a little bit of a review, talk about what a public service announcement is, and you're going to actually create one of those in class and have some time over the next couple class periods to kind of put that together. So really taking what you've learned and understanding those to now you can have a positive impact on yourself and potentially others in the community. All right, so there were four questions at the beginning of the semester that I talked to you about, and here are those four. So the first one was, what is the leading cause of death 100 years ago? We talked about those. Those are things that are uncontrollable diseases. Why are those causes of death from 100 years ago no longer leading causes? And that's because of the advancement of medicine in short terms. And then the other two questions over here, what is the leading cause of death today? So those two were motor vehicle accidents and heart disease. And then down here in the bottom right, what's happened to where we have these leading cause of death, and that's basically because of risk factors and our own choice, our own behavior. Now on the test though, I'm going to combine these four questions. So these two right here are going to be combined together, and these two are combined together. And I'm going to give you what those will look like on the test here on the next page. So those questions will look like was the leading causes of death 100 years ago, and why are they no longer leading causes? And then I have a link here, and I'm going to open this up to where you can see this. And I have examples of what answers would be and what kind of score you would get on those if you were to submit those answers on your test. And then I have them ranging in from no evidence all the way down to advanced. And so you can see those. And out to the right, I'm not going to go through and read these, but they're there for you to look at. If, for example, you weren't in class, in class, I've probably talked a little bit more in detail on it. If you got questions, feel free to ask. But over here, I give a lot of detail. As you go further down, you can notice that the answer does get longer. Length doesn't necessarily uh, give you the higher score. I'm looking for detail, so we're looking for vocabulary words that we've given in class. So for example, this particular question is asking about 100 years ago. I'm looking for words like controllable versus uncontrollable, um, things that have to do with specific diseases, examples, why those are no longer there, and not just merely listing out diseases and vaccines. So below basic would be it for that example there. Okay, and then the other question, so going back, was what are the leading causes of death today, and why have these new deep diseases occurred? So there's another document, exact same thing. I'm looking for risk factors. I'm looking for uh, ways where the six components affect each other. I'm looking for ways that we can have a positive impact in society and how we can lessen these, or how we can better our lives for each other. So go through and read those and get kind of an idea of what you're looking at in terms of answering those questions thoroughly to get the best score that you can. I would always encourage you on a test of any kind to take your time. Usually it's a race to get done so I can do something fun. And the reality is that the consequence of that is your score is not going to be as high if you don't take your time. So take your time. You'll have plenty of time to get to that stuff later. Okay, so if you got your Chromebooks with you, I would encourage you to open up your definition sheet, and you can add these in there. In addition, so an advocate is our next one, is someone who speaks out to argue or they're in favor of something. So if you've ever seen someone on TV who is trying to really get the message out about something, whether it's diabetes, whether it's breast cancer, anybody that you would see on TV talking about something to make you aware of something of any kind is an advocate. And they usually appear on a public service announcement of some kind, but an advocate is the person who is actually delivering the message. Okay. So when does someone usually become an advocate? Well, it's usually when their life's been affected by something. A lot of times you'll have assemblies at school where somebody will come in and they've been affected by an accident or a poor choice that they made, and they're trying to positively impact the youth or the people of tomorrow so that they won't make the same choices. There's an example that I can give you. I remember there's a kid who came to speak at a middle school, maybe he was even here at the high school several years ago, who was from, I think, Des Moines, Iowa, and he is paralyzed from, I believe, the waist down now. And he had come with a friend that drove down to go to Worlds of Fun for the day, and they had left the park at 11 o'clock at night. They were super tired, and he fell asleep in the car, and they were up in northern Missouri. And the guy that was driving the car also fell asleep while driving. They veered toward the median and had gotten a really bad accident. And his friend died, who was driving, and he was paralyzed from the waist down. And just a simple choice of not, being smart and understand they could have just stayed the night. In fact, I think his mother had even asked him to find a hotel just to stay. And unfortunately, a poor choice like that affected that as well. And I believe he was not wearing a seatbelt, which also complicated it. Very well could have saved his friend's life as well. So obviously, choices there are important. So those kind of people will go around to try to help people make positive choices because they don't want to see the same thing happen to other people. So public service announcements are messages that help educate people about an issue, and that's where the advocates come in. So whenever we create our public service announcements, they need to have the most current info and statistics. Uh, Public service announcements lose their value and lose their credibility if the information is not correct or valid. So that's going to be important when you're creating one here just a little bit later today. So where do we see these public service announcements? And here's just some examples of where you would see those. Some here at school, many out in the public, and these are just a few examples. There's obviously hundreds of different ways that we could probably find those, or where we would find those. But you can kind of look through those, get kind of an idea. You can probably think of some things that you've even seen recently. So I'm going to show you some examples. I would encourage you to click on this, open the PowerPoint if you don't have it open. Public service announcement, there's about 10 of them that go through. Some of them are longer than others, and feel free, you can skip through or fast forward. Some of them are silly, some of them are funny, some of them are very serious, but just there's some things there. And if you're in class, or if you want to see some of these, if you weren't in class, and you wanted to see some examples of how to do this, come find me, and we can kind of work on that. I can give you some visuals of what other people have done in the past, might give you some ideas of how you need to create yours. All right, so what you're going to need to do, so you're going to be in a group of 3 or less, so no more than 4. It needs to be something that all 3 of you are on camera, so there is no camera person. I think my next slide actually gives the expectations of what this will look like. So needs to have factual information about your subject. Statistics are important. You need to have at least 2 statistics on there. So it might be something like last year, 5,000 people died of this disease, whatever that might be. Okay, and you need to have at least two statistics that you list on there. The best way to do that would be, instead of looking with your head down and reading it the entire time, would be to actually look at the camera, just like I'm looking at you right now, and be able to rattle off the statistic. And you can cut and clip things as you're going through that. All right, second is every person needs to be on camera. I mentioned that there is no camera person or director, so need to be on camera. Might be listing one of the statistics. It might be playing a part in the actual skit that you're going through. So, for example, if I'm pretending I'm in a car wreck and and then fall off the side of the road, that would work, as long as you're playing some sort of part in the actual picture. It also is a way for me to hold you guys accountable. Then I know that you're on camera. I can't give you a grade if you're not on there. So, and then the last thing is just a reminder. Just remember to be loud enough for the camera. Face the phone. Don't turn around this way because then you lose the volume when you do that. So make sure that we can hear you as you're going through that. All right, so once in order to turn this up, you're gonna upload it probably through Classroom. I don't know, this is probably gonna change a little bit, and if you create yours outside of class, bring it in, save it on your phone, and bring it in, and we'll get it sorted. Even after you've uploaded it, do not immediately delete the video. I've had that happen many times where it didn't upload right, so we'll work through this in class. There's might be a different way I want you to upload this. This is a little bit out of date, so. We'll kind of work on that together if you have questions. All right, so as you're brainstorming, what you need to do is first you're going to be in your groups. How we're going to actually go through this, I don't know why it says in stack chairs, but you're going to sit in your groups. You need to brainstorm what skit, what kind of idea, what's my subject that I want to do first. Then I want to write a skit. What's it going to look like? Okay, and then show me what your skit's going to be before you go through and record it. I'd hate for it to be inappropriate. You go all the way through it, record it, upload it, and then all of a sudden tell you that's not going to work. So run it by me first. You want to send me an email if you're outside of class, feel free to do that. Then research statistics, and you can implement those wherever in the video that you might want to. Okay. And then from there, that's all we got for this. So if you got questions, again, email me, and good luck. We'll see you.